Over 2,500 years ago, a young prince left behind his palace of gold, his royal inheritance, and even his family, all to search for a truth that no wealth or power could ever provide. His name was Siddhartha Gautama, the man who would later be known as the Buddha. The lessons he discovered are not simply ancient religious doctrines. They are practical, timeless truths about life, suffering, happiness, and the mind. In this video, we will uncover 10 of the most powerful lessons from the Buddha, starting with the first 5. Each one will challenge how you see the world and perhaps even change the way you live. Let's begin. Lesson 1. Suffering is an inevitable part of life. The Buddha's first great insight can sound almost discouraging. Life is suffering. But if you pause for a moment, you'll realize just how accurate it is. Think about it. Pain is woven into the fabric of existence. From the moment we are born, we encounter struggle. As children, we stumble and cry. As adults, we face heartbreak, illness, failure, disappointment, and eventually, death. No matter how wealthy, powerful, or fortunate we are, no one escapes suffering. But here is the paradox. Acknowledging this truth doesn't make life darker, it actually makes it lighter. Why? Because denial only deepens our pain. Imagine holding a fragile glass, convinced it will last forever. The moment it breaks, you're devastated. But if you already know glass is fragile, you will cherish it more while it lasts. That is the first lesson. Suffering is not a curse, it's a teacher. It reminds us to be fully present, to love deeper, and to appreciate the fleeting nature of joy. And if suffering is everywhere, what causes it? That leads us directly into the second lesson. Lesson 2. The root of suffering is attachment. Why do we suffer so deeply when we lose something or someone we love? The Buddha answered, it is not simply loss itself, but our attachment to it. We cling to possessions, status, relationships, even to our own youth and beauty. We convince ourselves, I must have this or I cannot be happy. And so when change inevitably comes, when loss occurs, our hearts break. But imagine holding life as you would hold sand in your palm. If you squeeze tightly, the sand slips away. But if you hold it gently, the sand remains. In the same way, when we loosen our grip on life, when we stop demanding permanence from things that are impermanent, suffering begins to dissolve. This doesn't mean you shouldn't love, dream, or care deeply. It means you love without chains, dream without desperation, and care without clinging. That is freedom. So if suffering arises from attachment, is there a path that frees us completely? The Buddha revealed one, and it's not a secret ritual or mystical formula. It is practical, simple, and deeply transformative. Lesson 3. The Eightfold Path, a way out of suffering. The Buddha did not just diagnose the problem, he offered a cure. He called it the Eightfold Path, and it is essentially a roadmap for living wisely, compassionately, and mindfully. The Eightfold Path is divided into 3 core areas: wisdom, ethical conduct, and mental discipline. Wisdom teaches us to see reality clearly through right view and right intention. Ethical conduct guides our actions through right speech, right action, and right livelihood. Mental discipline sharpens the mind through right effort, right mindfulness, and right concentration. What makes this path extraordinary is its practicality. It is not about worshiping a god, performing rituals, or blindly following rules. It is about living in alignment with truth. Every decision you make, how you speak, how you work, how you think, either creates suffering or relieves it. The Eightfold Path is the art of choosing wisely, and as you walk this path, something remarkable happens. The mind begins to quiet. You no longer live trapped in the past or anxious about the future. Instead, you awaken to the most precious treasure of all, the present moment. Which brings us to Lesson 4. Lesson 4. The power of living in the present moment. We spend most of our lives in two places, yesterday and tomorrow. We replay old regrets, old wounds, conversations we wish we could change. Or we rush ahead, worrying about what might happen tomorrow, next week, next year. But in doing so, we miss the only place where life truly exists, this moment. The Buddha emphasized the practice of mindfulness, the simple act of being aware of your breath, your steps, your thoughts, without judgment. To eat and truly taste your food. To walk and actually feel the earth beneath your feet. To listen to someone with your full attention instead of thinking of your reply. When you live this way, time slows. Anxiety fades. Joy becomes possible. Not because life is perfect, but because you are awake to it. And when you are awake, you discover something even more powerful than presence. You discover compassion. Lesson 5. Compassion is the greatest strength. In a world where people often mistake power for cruelty and strength for domination, the Buddha offered a radical truth. Compassion is the highest form of strength. Think of it this way. Anyone can lash out in anger. Anyone can seek revenge. But it takes true courage to respond with understanding, to offer kindness even when you are hurt. Compassion, in Buddhism, is not pity. It is the recognition that every being suffers just like you, and when you see that, how can you not wish for their peace, their happiness, their freedom? But compassion is not just outward. It must also turn inward. So many of us live with harsh self-criticism, carrying guilt and shame. The Buddha taught that healing begins when we extend compassion to ourselves. With compassion, we don't just transform relationships, we transform the entire atmosphere of our lives. A compassionate heart is unshakable. It cannot be poisoned by hatred. It cannot be broken by cruelty. It becomes in itself a source of peace. And as we move forward to the next set of lessons, we'll see how compassion connects to another deep truth of life, the reality of impermanence. Lesson 6. The illusion of permanence. Everything in life feels so solid, so lasting. Your house, your career, your relationships, they all seem like they should endure. But the Buddha urged us to look closer. What appears permanent is actually fleeting. That beautiful flower in bloom? By tomorrow it wilts. That youthful energy you rely on? Slowly, silently, it changes with time. Even the identities we cling to, our titles, our roles, our reputations, shift like sand dunes reshaped by the wind. This realization can feel unsettling, even frightening. We often try to resist change, clinging desperately to what we love or fearing the loss of what we know. Yet Buddha's teaching was not meant to depress us. It was meant to liberate us. When we truly see the impermanence of all things, we stop gripping so tightly. Suddenly, the sunset becomes more beautiful because we know it won't last. We appreciate the laughter of a loved one because we understand it is precious and fragile. Impermanence also softens our struggles. When life feels unbearable, remembering that this too shall pass brings hope. Suffering is not eternal. It ebbs and flows. The very same truth that makes joy bittersweet also makes pain endurable. And so, impermanence is not an enemy. It's the rhythm of life itself. Instead of resisting it, we can dance with it. We can live fully in each moment because we know the moment will never come again. But if everything is impermanent, What then can we trust? That leads us to the next lesson, the power of letting go. Lesson 7. The power of letting go. Imagine carrying a heavy sack of rocks everywhere you go. At first, it seems manageable, but as you walk further, the burden becomes unbearable. This is how we live, clinging to grudges, regrets, old identities, failed relationships, and material possessions as if they define us. The Buddha taught that liberation comes not by adding more to our lives, but by releasing what weighs us down. Letting go doesn't mean giving up. It means choosing peace over struggle. It is not about apathy, but about freedom. Think about forgiveness. When you forgive, you are not saying what happened was right. You are choosing to unchain yourself from the bitterness of the past. Similarly, when you release your obsession with control over the future, over people, over outcomes, you discover that life feels lighter, freer, and surprisingly more joyful. Of course, letting go is not easy. Our minds are wired to hold on. But the more we practice, the more we experience the sweetness of release. It's like opening your hand and watching the burden float away. The Buddha often used the image of a raft. A raft helps you cross a river, but once you reach the shore, you don't carry the raft on your back. You leave it behind. In the same way, many of the things we hold on to served a purpose once, but no longer serve us now. When we learn to let go, we open space for something new to enter. And one of the most powerful things we can make space for is compassion. Our next lesson. Lesson 8. The practice of compassion. Compassion is not just kindness. It is the ability to feel the suffering of others as if it were your own. The Buddha saw compassion not as a moral duty, but as a path to awakening. Why? Because compassion dissolves the illusion of separateness. When we see that others' pain is not different from ours, we begin to live in harmony with the world. Think about the last time you helped someone in genuine need. Perhaps it was small, listening to a friend who was struggling, or giving food to a stranger. Didn't it leave you feeling more connected, more human? Compassion enriches both the giver and the receiver. The Buddha taught that compassion must extend to all beings, not just our friends or family, but even strangers, even enemies. This is radical, almost impossible. But he believed that until our compassion is universal, we will remain trapped in cycles of anger, hatred, and revenge. Living with compassion doesn't mean we allow ourselves to be mistreated. It means we respond with wisdom instead of blind reaction. Imagine what the world would look like if each of us approached life with compassion first. Fewer conflicts, less greed, more harmony. Compassion is not weakness, it is strength. It requires courage to open your heart in a world that often encourages hardness. But it is precisely this courage that leads to freedom. And once we embrace compassion, we step naturally into another essential practice: mindfulness. Lesson 9. The power of mindfulness. In our modern world, distractions scream for our attention every second. Notifications, deadlines, endless scrolling. Our minds dart constantly between past regrets and future worries, leaving us rarely here in the present moment. The Buddha introduced mindfulness as a powerful antidote. To be mindful is to be fully awake to this very breath, this very step, this very moment. It is deceptively simple. Just notice. Notice the rise and fall of your breath. Notice the taste of food, the sound of rain, the texture of silence. At first, it feels almost impossible. Our minds run wild. But with practice, mindfulness becomes like an anchor in stormy seas. Instead of being tossed around by thoughts and emotions, we observe them with calm awareness. Suddenly, stress feels less overwhelming and joy becomes more vivid. Mindfulness is not an escape from life. It is the deepest way to experience life. When you are mindful, you don't just eat, you savor. You don't just listen, you truly hear. You don't just exist, you live. And perhaps most importantly, mindfulness reveals a profound truth. Peace is always available, here and now. We don't need to chase it, we simply need to return to the present. With mindfulness as our anchor, we are ready to face one of the Buddha's most profound lessons, the middle way. Lesson 10, the middle way. Before becoming the Buddha, Siddhartha lived two extremes, first as a prince surrounded by luxury, and later as an ascetic starving himself in search of truth. Neither extreme brought peace. What he discovered instead was the middle way, a path of balance. The middle way teaches us to avoid both indulgence and denial. Too much pleasure, and we become enslaved by desire. Too much self-denial, and we weaken ourselves unnecessarily. True wisdom lies in balance, nourishing body and mind without becoming attached. In daily life, the middle way might look like this: working hard but not becoming consumed by work, caring for your health but not obsessing over perfection, enjoying material comforts but not depending on them for happiness. The middle way is not moderation for its own sake. It is freedom from extremes. It allows us to walk through life with steadiness, avoiding the traps of excess on both sides. When we embrace the middle way, we find clarity. We stop swinging between craving and aversion, between highs and lows. Instead, we walk a stable, centered path, one that leads to lasting peace. And with that, the Buddha's 10 profound lessons weave together into a tapestry of wisdom, impermanence, letting go, compassion, mindfulness, and balance, all pointing toward liberation. The teachings of the Buddha have transcended thousands of years, yet they remain as powerful and relevant today as ever. Which of these lessons resonated with you the most? Share your thoughts in the comments below, and don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this video to spread the wisdom of the Buddha to even more people.